Okay. We're up. Okay. Excellent. Welcome everybody to this special council meeting of Bonashir Valley on Tuesday, August 31st, 2021. Agenda needs to be amended at 1:30 p.m. Sorry, all. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I would like to thank our lawyer, Tony Fleming. Hi, Tony, and welcome Mark and Patrick to this special meeting. You will be muted until we call on you, Tony. So thanks so much for joining us today. Is there any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none. So we have two items on the agenda for today. Number one is the Delcan zoning, and number two is the garden monument that I'm really excited to talk about this afternoon. So with that, let's talk a bit about this zoning, thoughts, feelings, concerns. I know that we had a very good town hall meeting. I see that it was viewed quite a bit. We obviously had quite a few emails now in support of the rezoning just in the last couple of days. So that was interesting to see. And of course, a few signatures on a petition. So with that, thoughts?
No, to be honest, I think like my opinion on it, I think Bruce's recommendation of the holding bylaw kind of makes the most sense. So we're able to develop an approved site plan in the future if both parties or the township and Delcan can come to terms on that. And in my opinion, it makes the most sense, especially in that area. We have an underutilized commercial / industrial area, and in my opinion, I think there's a lot of great benefits. And especially you don't want to see people traveling. I know my wife, when she was a nurse, traveled from Eganville to Ottawa for employment. And if we're able to have 15 more jobs in the area and bring in more families and people that want to work, I think that's a positive. But obviously, I think one of the concerns we heard over and over again is say the odor control. So I think it's important for the township to be able to have the information, the numbers to call and give the residents, not only be as us taking if there is future complaints or anything concerning of it, but be able to bring it forth to the federal government or whoever is the overseer of that.
You're correct, Health Canada.
Yeah, so Health Canada. So I think that's something that we just want to make sure we have all the numbers in play, the information, the contacts, not just a telephone number, but an actual person to contact. But no, I think a holding bylaw makes the most sense, in my opinion.
Thank you, Brian. Mark?
Well, I just go back a little bit and talk about when we established our first waste site that took us 16 years to establish. And it all came down to trust to do what we said we're going to do. And as a council, as a township, we did what we said we got to do. And now we've got to trust Delcan to do what they say they're going to do. And
It's a great point, Mark, but it's not only Delcan, this is Health Canada.
yeah,
And I think that we heard that loud and clear in the presentation. And going back to your anecdote about the waste site, yes, Jack constantly reminds me that we promised the people of Golden Lake that there would be no recyclables in that waste site. So that was something we took very seriously. Yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
So I always like to see new business come to our area. And whether you are pro cannabis or against cannabis, I don't think that's the matter. It is a legal substance in which these people are, bound to follow the legalities of federal regulation. So I've heard a lot of concerns and seen the concerns that were presented, but I believe that we really have to, trust that they're going to do the right thing for the community up there. And hope to see some employment come to our area and maybe get some jobs back in Wiltshire Valley.
And could you hear the people of Eganville on water and sewer cheering when they said that they would buy water from the municipality? Jack?
Well, the biggest issue and concern I have here is this new site, this new industrial site will definitely change and impact the hamlet of Foymount. And we have a number of people in Foymount, like I would say overwhelming more than 50-60% anyways, that are totally against this. they're against it for a number of different reasons. They're against it for the traffic, they're against it for, it's a quiet hamlet that currently right now, and they're looking at it's going to change, and it will definitely change. Change how things are going in Foyman. Like every other business that you have, it's one thing to say that you're going to do and strive to these, but if the finances aren't there, there has to be cutbacks on somewhere. And that's what I think I'm most concerned about, is we have to have control over what the state is going to get done and what does get done. And this building has been occupied for a number of years already. And, people, it's left a bad taste in a lot of people that are up there. A lot of people are concerned about it. They're very, normally a leopard doesn't change its spots, and that's what they're concerned about. They're concerned that they're gonna be up there by themselves, and we're just gonna say, well, we're bringing new business in, and if the air quality is bad, if the water table suddenly gets impacted, so be it. They'll have to learn to live with it, put in a new well. And these people can't afford that. So I'm all for new business, but I'm really concerned about the location and where we're putting it and where we're agreeing to it. I have concerns, very huge concerns, and I don't know if I'm in favor of it or not right now.
Okay. And I don't think any of us don't share in your concerns at all. I think that's part of doing a site plan agreement, and one of the people at the town hall said, details, because the devil is always in the details. And I think that's putting Health Canada aside, that gives us the right to say, no, this cannot go on like this. We are going to get, if we pass this, mark my words, we are going to get a ton of complaints. And I think that this is sort of one of those moments where we need more business. We need more on water and sewer. Well, not on sewer, I guess, sorry, on water. I think that the employment opportunities, Brent, you mentioned 15. I think it'll be more like 30. And I thought it was funny that people were already applying for jobs in that town hall meeting. But yeah, I think we all have a modicum of concern, especially changing the people's habits of flying now. But at the same time, I like the fact that it's an industry that Mark said it very clearly. There'll be no logos or anything that says, to children, perhaps, that this is a cannabis plant. I know that we got a lot of emails about odor. The latest article I could find on odor was from April 2020. I understand that odor control is far different now. I was doing a little research on the weekend, and I think that if we pass this, we have to hope for the best. Sorry, Brent, you wanted to go next.
No worries, but and I think with any business that they spoke of branding and new branding for their building. So I think it's within the site plan agreement that it's something that we can work towards. And I think they want to establish a positive impact in their community. And within the site plan, we can work towards that. But I think also like the township, and we're all up in the top of Waymouth ourselves, and you can look around the community. I think there is a lot of potential for more growth and more positive impact and stuff. And I think you can look at the park. Yes, it functions right now. It's in good standing, but there's accessories to the park. We have the concrete, the pads, everything that we would love to get spruced up. We have a stormwater system with our asset management plan that's still in the red. We have roads that we're going to have to maintain, and unfortunately we don't have any of the commercial sector up there right now, besides some businesses are up there, but you have the large multi-families that are just sitting vacant for years, and multiple other buildings as well. So I think hopefully that this is a step in the right direction and positive. Yes, there will be negative feedback from some residents, and that's to be expected. But I think in the long term, I hope that it's the right decision, and I think a holding bylaw definitely will put us in the right position to move hopefully forward.
I think, yeah, I mean, I don't believe any of us would vote in favor of this without the holding symbol until a site plan agreement is signed. But are there any other comments?
So, if I may,
Go ahead.
just as a looking back and a reminisce sort of deal. When I was a kid, while our house was being built in Augsburg, I lived just off the corner, just down the road from the Promenade Turn. On top of, not on top of the hill, but very close. And I used to get on my bicycle and I would go up. There was a little store, you know, there was, you could get candy, you could do whatever. Down the hill was Kitz's. There was a lot of things happening in Plymouth at that time. And lately, that's becoming a thing of past because there's people that have to go elsewhere for jobs and employment. And the more opportunity there is for people to work in this area, the more offset and off spins you have for people to open a little store and do a little this and do a little that. So with the right, you know, agreement that we come with today, I look forward to seeing, hopefully, you know, more positivity coming out of it with the starting of a business to get people back to work up in the area.
That's so funny, Tim. The first year we moved here, we actually had Father's Day brunch with a whole bunch of our friends at the restaurant in Plymouth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, wow. Seems like a long time ago.
So getting back to this proposed site plan. If there's issues, concerns, basically what they do not meet, or that has been agreed upon that do not meet, what are, and what can we put in for penalties?
Penalties, that kind
Like
of
what can
thing.
we do? Do we give them a 30-day to get it together? Do we, if it's delinquent after so many days, is it closed? What, like, we have to have some sort of meat to this. It can't just be a piece of site plan that says, oh, well, you should do this, and if you don't,
Agreed.
like this is not.
Now, I've
So
never,
I don't know, and that's the problem. I don't know enough about the Health Canada Act, where they fall in place and where and how much teeth do we have? Or is it all, or is it the same as the green energy, where the municipality has very little say?
well, we would
Like,
have,
and
we
then
would
can you
have,
give us some input on that? Is it, do we have the same amount of, do we have say, or is it like the Green Energy Act where we have very little say?
So we don't have an odor bylaw in the township. So when you're dealing with odor, you're going to be dealing with the, you know, what's been stated by Health Canada. So it's going to be them that they have to meet, and we can put that in the site plan agreement to say, you know, you have to be able to meet these regulations and these, and I don't know how it's measured. I think we had a conversation about that. There are certain other things that we can control, such as facade and you know, water and sewer and how they're going to get that. But there's other things that, yes, are, you know, because we don't have an odor bylaw, because there's other things that we can't necessarily control. But I don't know if, Tony, if you have anything to add to that on how, I'm not quite sure how we enforce the site plan agreement, but, or I can get back to council on that, but it is an enforceable and registered agreement. And yes, for sure, it needs to be detailed, because I don't know how you enforce something that doesn't have detail.
go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, and through you, your worship. Site plan agreement is a contract like any other contract with the municipality. So you can enforce in accordance with the terms of your site plan. So the first step I would suggest would be to have provisions in your site plan that deal with what sort of odor abatement technology and equipment is going to be installed. And maybe that requires some form of study in advance so that the township will understand what equipment is being proposed. I don't know if the township wishes to have it peer reviewed in advance so that you can have someone who has expertise in the engineering of that abatement equipment say to you, yes, this is, you know, state of the art or effective or ineffective, and we don't recommend it, or we do recommend it. And then that approved equipment will be included in the site plan, and they will be required to install that equipment. I'm not familiar with the technical details of that kind of abatement technology, but there must be testing standards. So in that agreement, you can require annual testing or some sort of way to verify that it's working. You could require in the site plan some form of, community complaint hotline, so to speak. Require that they keep a log of complaints, how the complaints were resolved, all that sort of thing. The Ministry of Environment does this sort of thing when they do odor abatement or even noise abatement in environmental compliance approval certificates. So this kind of thing is something that you can certainly draw on the experience from MECP to figure out what sort of conditions you'd like to see in that particular agreement. In terms of enforcement, because it's a contract, the enforcement isn't by way of a prosecution. It's a civil matter that you would have to bring to the courts in the Superior Court to enforce if they simply, refuse to conform to the requirements in the site plan agreement. But I would recommend as a first step that you build in steps within the site plan itself so that there are remedies that you can rely on before you need to get to court, such as annual reporting, that sort of thing.
I think that's good advice, Tony. Thank you. Go ahead, Murph.
I appreciate what Tony's saying, but what concerns me if we go that route, are we getting in over our head? Are we going above and beyond what Health Canada recommends? We're not qualified to say, you violated this or violated that. I'm worried about getting in over our heads.
Can I just, I know sorry, I know I'm not supposed to jump in there, but just with regards to this odor stuff, and Merv, exactly what you're saying, and Tony, I appreciate that perspective. Through the cannabis legislation and that's pretty much all regulated through the federal regulations with regards to odor, what you have to use, how it's being tested. And Tony, you're right. We have to keep documentation. I'm not sure if it's monthly or yearly, as you noted, on our replacement filter schedule, all that type of stuff. Audits involved too. So to Merv's point of, thinking maybe getting in over your head, that sort of stuff, I take that point absolutely. But if we educate ourselves on the requirements from the federal regulations, you'll see that a lot of that is covered. So you could push it to the feds.
Mark, the chair didn't recognize you and you're not here as a delegation. You kind of just hijacked my meeting. So I appreciate you responding to Merv's concerns, but you're here as a spectator, not a participant at this point, okay?
Okay, I'll shut her down. I apologize for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah.
The other thing that we're reading the county plan that jumps out at me is there's the distance that the buildings or the houses are supposed to be from it is 150 meters. In here, there's approximately, approximately 40 dwellings to the north, and approximately 9 dwellings are within the 150 meters. The nearest dwelling is 100 meters. The vacant lot is 70 meters away. This building is, and that's basically, so the building is basically maximized what they can do. They're already encroaching on how close they're supposed to be. So it's not like they can all of a sudden start, things are doing great and we're going to pop up another wing or we're going to expand.
Nope.
And like this here is, so like I'm saying, there has to be control set in places that we have control over this. If not, we just, because if things take off and they're doing well, it's a big piece of property. Let's knock down a wall and add on another 5,000 square feet or whatever. That's not, that we're already encroaching on people's houses right there already.
But the council of the day would have the ability to not allow that expansion due to setbacks.
Yeah, but why pass this on to another council and then they're under the heat from people there? If this setback is in place, they're basically, this is as big as the building can go. That's it. And there's no, and why pass this on to another council when we can do it as ourselves?
So you want something in the site plan that says
That's,
that they
that's
can't
right. This
expand?
is, they've maximized their footprint.
Okay. I wasn't really picking up what you were putting down
But
there,
you know what I
sorry.
mean? Maximize their footprint, that they can't all of a sudden, you know? And that's,
Although a further council. could
Well, to
overturn it.
me, yeah. I was gonna
Well, the
say
council
to-
could change
to-
it, but-
To me, but that hasn't been, in my opinion, it hasn't been addressed on Delcan's position, so like, end of the day, they could just submit a new application and then the council of the day can amend that, so like, what I'm saying is just, it's not, to me, it's not an issue as it stands right now, because at any moment they could bring forth a new application, and then the council of the day can make that decision. I don't think that we should project what people's decision's gonna be or what they're gonna do anyways. So like, to me, it's a non-issue. It'd be no different than rezoning a property in town, being like, well, you can rezone your house, but you can't put a second story on it ever. And like, and I don't think that's a business we shouldn't foresee the future. But I think at that point, I think the ratepayers will vote in a council to make the decision the same as we're making a decision today. But me personally, I wouldn't agree to having that within the confines of the document.
I just don't see it as an issue right now. And I agree with you.
They're
The
ready.
footprint is like, that's the size of the building and they are already at
They're past
they're
their,
past their setbacks. But all I'm saying is that we don't know what's gonna happen in the future. Would they buy up land? Would they, there are other things that could happen that we can't foresee.
Well, and this also probably wouldn't be up and running for another year anyways, what we heard at the last meeting. So like, there's lots of like, so for the site plan agreement, then like we're able to work towards the same goal in the sense that we can have an agreement with them because they're in the development stage of their project. Like they have the new roof on it, I think the first part of it. So I think they're just more looking at directions before they put more money into it. And I think a site plan to me makes the most sense. And down the road, if say maybe someone purchases more property up there and decides to put something else in, well, that's up to that. And maybe at that point, because when I see it right now, transportation is an issue when you're talking about 50 employments and what was already there and historically. But maybe down the road, say a larger commercial company comes in and puts something there, be it a cannabis store or whatnot. I don't really see it. They'd have to go through a lot more legislation. But say I don't know, big Amazon store goes up there or something. Well, at that point, we may look at doing a traffic study because you have more of a higher volume. But as it stands right now, I don't see a large impact on the transportation. And I think within the engineering documents, I'm sure they'll have throughout the development of their property, they probably will have, okay, this is where, and this is the importance of the site plan, that this is where the septic's gonna be, this is the, okay, we're gonna have a well, okay, this is the water that we're gonna be utilizing from the township. It's just like, well, this is stuff that's built into it, and same as we'll be able to see on the site plan, like, this is the border of the fencing, this is the tree line that was proposed, this is the vegetation, this is the sign, the cladding, everything of that nature. And then that, I think it allows us to have a step in the development stage as well.
I just wanted to address something also that Jack said earlier about Health Canada regulations. The Health Canada regulations are extremely stringent. And I went to a plenary at Roma, I believe, 2 years ago about Health Canada and their regulations. And even as recently as a couple of weeks ago at the AMO conference, there was another cannabis plenary, and the town of Pelham, which is in Niagara, was that their CAO
Yes.
or their planner?
Oh,
It was either their CAO or their planner did an excellent talk on what they went through. And it was amazing to see the list of concerns from the residents of Pelham. And they're all the same concerns that our residents of Foymount have. And so many of them were put to bed very easily. And so far, it's been going very well, correct, Annette?
yes.
So they've actually seen, not only, I don't know who just said it, but they not only have seen an increase in employment, but they also have other businesses that are now flourishing. So it's been kind of an interesting, it was a very interesting plenary period, but anyway, all the same concerns, odor, traffic, water, you name it. So it was very, I was happy to see that, not happy, but it was good to see that the concerns of their residents directly transferred to ours, so it was, you know, they seem to be doing very well with it.
I would be more concerned if there wasn't the strict federal regulations that are already involved, but they are extremely regulated to begin with, right through and through. So it kind of puts me at ease to sign off on this for that reason. They really have strict guidelines to follow and they have to play within it. So
And they're
You know,
even stricter now.
exactly. So they've solved a lot of my questions and concerns that were brought forward to me. And yeah, I know what the regulation that they have to follow. They really have no choice but to follow. So
Well, and Health Canada is not playing their rules or their audit system, and it's quite something. You really have to want to be in this business to do this business. But again, you know, our residents, they're upset, and we have to manage expectations, and we have to make sure that what's in this site plan agreement is detailed and includes all concerns. Not only their concerns, but our concerns.
but let's also forget too, not forget that it's all of Boncher Valley that this is going to be impacting, not just the hamlet of Plymouth. So the offsets of the positives that are coming out of it will be distributed throughout Boncher Valley as a whole, not just to little corners. So it's definitely, if we get more business in the area, it's going to help the people of Grattan. It's going to help the people of Eganville. It's going to help the people of Sebastopol, south of Gona, right? So it's I think hopefully a good thing for all the residents. And I have listened to and taken into consideration the petitions and the worries of some of the concerned residents in Plymouth itself, and looking at the federal guidelines that kind of puts, and what Delcan has done at their town hall, put a lot of that concern to rest. So
Go ahead, Bruce.
I agree with Tim there. I think we listened to Mark the last time. Like, it's going to help other businesses. They're not gonna have somebody out there cutting the grass. They're gonna contract that out. They're gonna contract snow removal. They're gonna contract what isn't their core business, they're gonna contract out.
Well, and I understand that they're already getting resumes to work there, so which I think is kind of funny. And again, you know, thinking about Katie driving from Eganville to Ottawa, when we first moved here, I did that drive too. And it was really, really, really hard. So anyway. Sorry. So I think, is there anything else? Sure, go ahead, Annette.
Thank you. So I just want to make sure that council's aware that the yard setbacks are in the bylaw, in the holding bylaw, and those are, you know, the only permitted use, and the setbacks are already set. Yes, as Brent was stating, those could be changed or the zoning bylaw amendment or that whole, and that would open up the whole public process again. That would have to have another public meeting and so on and so forth. But they are, in case that wasn't clear, they are actually right in the bylaw if council passes.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
All right, is there anything else?
So who has the input into the site plan? How are we gonna do
I'm
that?
assuming we will.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll do it with Bruce and Tony, correct?
Yeah.
So with our county planner and with our lawyer and through our CAO, and I think that we should be submitting the concerns that we've heard and the concerns that we have and remedies, et cetera, that would, I like Tony's idea that you put remedies in place, you know, for as benchmarks or that would keep you out of superior court in the later times. You know, you make sure that it's followed stringently so that if there is a problem and there is a penalty, that it's dealt with at the time and not down the road.
But we're gonna be very limited in what we can do if they don't fall within the site plan. As far as penalties go, according to what Tony said, it's basically It's just, it is what it is.
No, I don't think that's what Tony was
So
saying.
how,
but
how,
we'll-
how do we enforce this, Tony? I didn't miss
Through
that.
through you, your worship. What I tried to indicate earlier to council is that because the site plan is a contract with the township, a breach of the site plan would not be something that you would enforce the way you would enforce a traditional bylaw, which would be by way of a prosecution.
Right.
The enforcement mechanism is twofold. There's internal enforcement mechanisms built into the contract itself. So the parties agree, and I'll just make up an example. Let's say if there are 4 unresolved odor complaints in a month, then the company agrees under the site plan that it will do X, whatever X might be. Maybe it's a study, maybe it's something, who knows, some sort of internal process to determine what is the problem, what needs to be done, act on those recommendations. And then at the end of the day, that's primarily the enforcement mechanism that you have, is trying to build that protocol into the agreement itself, so that if there are complaints or process upsets or whatever, that there's a way to remedy those within the site plan agreement itself. But primarily, if there's a breach of the site plan that is bigger than that or not contemplated by those internal processes, then the township has the Superior Court and an injunction. That's effectively all you can do. The other option you have outside the site plan is to have an odor bylaw in place that may deal with things that exceed the parameters of the site plan. I don't know enough about this application or the operation itself to be specific, unfortunately, but there are ways that the township can manage the operations. But the primary way that I would recommend you deal with that is to make sure that the site plan requires, technology that is recognized, approved, demonstrated to be able to handle this type of odor in these kinds of situations.
Thanks, Tony. And I think our county planner could probably help us a lot with this as well, because this would be the first time that this council's done a site plan agreement, especially of this magnitude. But certainly I think our county planner had some ideas and could certainly work with Tony and Annette and us to come up with something that we feel comfortable with. Again, we are absolutely not going to make some of the people of Foymat happy, but they have passed their zoning requirements with the county of Renfrew. And so realistically, they've done what they were supposed to do. And although we wanted to listen to our residents and we care about what they think, this is, sort of a legal process to go through for zoning, and they have met their requirements. Sorry for the weird voice, guys. I've got a bit of a throat thing going on today, like laryngitis. By the end of the week, I won't have a voice. It'll be fun. Anyway, with that, anything further? Then I screwed up. So if you could give me 1 minute, I need to backtrack. I have a resolution dated today that the agenda be accepted as presented. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Brent, second by Bert, all in favor. Thanks, guys.
I'm just so anxious to get at it. Okay?
I didn't have it on the agenda and sorry about that. All right. So does anybody feel the need for a closed session with Tony? Seeing none. Okay.
Maybe once we have a draft.
Yep, definitely.
together.
All right, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? Oh, wait, let's make sure we know what we're voting on. Hang on. We are voting on a holding symbol subject to a site plan amendment for the zoning, for the rezoning for 131 Sebastopol Drive Road. Okay, everybody's, just want to make sure, right? That we're not saying, yeah, go ahead. Okay. So
With our input to restrictions as long with the county and
and our lawyer.
our lawyer.
I think we have to be involved. I don't
Well,
see it.
we have to be involved to speak on,
Well, it's
have some
gonna-
input for our residents.
That's
Who
exactly,
else is gonna?
Well, it's gonna
speak
make
for
it simple because we wouldn't pass at the table if the council didn't approve it, didn't have an input. It's just gonna go back to the drawing board, gonna cost more money, and then that's the whole point. We'd rather do it all in one deal. And
but I agree with Jack. I mean, we sit here on behalf of our ratepayers, and so I think that any concerns that we've heard, that need to be addressed, they need to go in the site plan. I don't think that we need to hear from all the excited people about the water, but the important things from the hamlet definitely need to be addressed.
Mhm.
So, yeah, all right, now I will call for the vote. All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you, council. Thank you, Mark, Patrick, and Tony. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Bye now.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Patrick.
You guys will not, this is not a mistake. You guys are going to be very pleasantly surprised as this moves on. Thank you again.
Thanks.
Just a question for further process. How does this work? How are we going to discuss the site and requirements that you guys are going to propose?
Mark, I will leave you to Annette for this after the meeting, okay?
Perfect. Thank you very much
Thanks.
again. Thank you.
Bye now. All right, so our next order of business is the garden monument. Everybody saw the email I sent out of the picture near the dog park. They want to do the orange flowers up on the hill that leads to the dog park and the geo trail and some painted rocks. I just wanted to make sure everybody was okay with that location, although I didn't really think that, we all had to, it would be really beautiful. And they've done so much work on McCray Park and people are driving down there and the dog park and the geo trail. I think it's the perfect place. And if everybody's okay with that location, we do have $1,700 approximately in our special projects budget. And I was just wondering if we would be willing to give them 500 towards some flowers. Because they are also, I believe, doing some fundraising, and I think that they've got a nursery involved as well. So I just wanted to get your feedback.
Well, I've got to say, yes, I guess it's okay. I would rather have seen it somewhere where people driving by the highway would see it, but I don't think there's any other spot.
No, and I think the
I think
horticultural,
I see it somewhere people passing through town on both highways would see it.
but people also use the way station
Yeah.
for their camp.
Yeah.
There's a lot more traffic on those roads now than you realize. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody heard that people were camping their trailers at McCray Park, so that's a conversation for the 7th. Yes, that face.
And then just for clarification on, because we didn't get it, I don't think we got any like drawings per se of anything, like what it's gonna, like where it's gonna be positioned. The only concern I had, if it's gonna be like an in the ground garden would be, because that's the direction where all our snow load goes, like up that hill there. So because if you went to the left side of where the geo trail is, we have a high volume of snow load that's gonna be there, and any plant we're gonna get is gonna be lost.
No, I think,
So if they're going on the right side,
yes,
I guess so is this like, are we expecting our like staff to do it, or is this a volunteer
I think
or a culturalist?
the
Because that's-
horticulture, Sherry's been in touch with the Horticultural Society. So I think that this will be part of the yearly planting and the beautification, and it's just one more.
So our staff's gonna water it then?
I think the Horticultural Society and our staff water.
But-
I don't think it's
I think
They
our staff
It's
waters.
just our staff,
even the hill.
yes,
Yeah.
and I did talk to, I don't know about the hill.
No,
You could be correct in the hill, excuse me. But all the little planters, it is our staff that waters them. I did speak to Kevin, because remember the museum was asking about having a couple planters at the entrance to the trail. So once our staff is already going there, they're right beside it. But the snow load was brought up, and the recommendation from staff is to have it closer to where the geo trail sign is, like more on that flatter ground and further down, so that it doesn't get wrecked with the snow. But you're saying it's on the right-hand side, so that is not the location that I discussed with staff, so I don't know what their recommendation would be on the other side.
Okay, would you do me a favor? Could you find out and
Mhm.
send a note to Sherry?
Yes. we'll-
Just letting her know that, because that was just a proposed site, right? She
Yes,
said,
the
she
picture-
thought on the
yeah.
hill that it would be like, it would be more visible, right?
Mhm.
So I guess the other alternative is that will give us, I guess, more time would be, we have the 4 empty planters right at the downtown core. So we temporarily just move them to the dog park and lined it up there, and then we're able to work with Sherry. So say we designate $500 towards it, and then the volunteer group is gonna raise $500 for it, or 1,000, or whatever agreement is. Then we have something longer term, more sustainable, and then we have more time to look at it, and that's the thing. So it's not something that we want to rush, even though it's a garden. I just don't, like, I'm sure staff have lots of things to do.
So she did ask if we had any extra planter boxes. I did send it to you and Kevin. I didn't hear back, but you weren't around. So
So I
If-
think my recommendation for this year, it's not something like, this is something that's gonna be long-standing.
plantable,
And so all I'm saying, like, why don't we just plan to utilize our planters this year? Well, we have put in some orange flowers, or Sherry can work with horticulturists in the township for it. And if we have to provide them this year, but long-term, if we designate $500 for it, the volunteer group's 500, that's probably plenty to have a sustainable garden. And I think on the right side, underneath the dog park would make the most sense, or by the geo trail. Either or, I think we just need to see it on paper, something long-term, especially when we all see the snow load this year and be like, oh yeah, that's a great spot for one, or, oh no, this isn't a great spot. So like, that's only my concern. I just don't want to see us put money into something and then get destroyed after one winter.
I know,
So that's
and
why the planners and my idea, we're able to place it, and then we can move them at some point. We can leave them there if we think it's good position. And then next year, we can actually put something in the ground when we have more manpower, everything to get the job done.
and that's why she was asking for the planters, because time is of the essence for the September 21st and 30th dates. But I think she knew that planting was not going to work for this year.
That's for this year.
Right, so that's why she asked for the planter boxes. So would you mind asking Kevin?
Yes,
And then that
and
would
I
be
did,
great.
and he said yes.
Oh, great, okay,
So we're good.
perfect.
Yeah.
Good, so
Okay.
do you want to let Sherry know?
Yes.
Okay, now, is 500 okay? We're almost at the end of the year, guys. We've got some money.
Well, I don't know, how much does a planter cost to put in, like $100 for it? Like,
I don't know.
like I have no clue, like,
Your one planter is probably about $300.
oh,
Ooh,
Like the ones on the bridge?
These planter boxes are a little bit bigger, but yeah.
yeah, they are bigger.
So you might get away with 200 with the one on the bridge.
You're kidding.
Oh, it's more expensive than you think.
It is. Have you been to a nursery? A lot of work goes involved. in those.
This is why I grow rocks.
well, yeah, so.
So we might be able to get 2 done, or 2 planter boxes done for 500.
And then do we
Okay.
know how much money they've?
Would the nursery be having a yard sale this time of year to get rid of what they didn't sell over the summer?
They're probably looking at selling fall flowers like
Yeah.
mums and stuff,
Yeah.
so
But they'll always have some left over.
Yeah.
Maybe.
maybe.
Well, I think she was going to,
Well, at that, it's talking about that, it's like $20 for some fall flower mums at one of the grocery stores.
yeah, you could. At this, I
I
mean,
don't know what they are, but they're usually around $20.
it's September 1st tomorrow.
Go to one of the grocery stores or wherever, or nursery, and want 10 or 15 of those at $20 a piece.
You'll deal with that then?
Mhm.
Thank you, Sherry and her.
I sure didn't realize planter boxes were that expensive.
And then I guess long term is, we're looking at a permanent, something. This allows sharing the volunteer group to get back to us on what they're looking at, and then how much money they're looking to contribute, or that we give more money to horticulturalists to cover it. But I think end of the
Yeah.
day, it is a volunteer initiative end of the day, so I think it's
But I think the whole idea was that they were going to work with the Horticultural Society to make sure that, that the whole village was done.
Yeah,
So,
hopefully in the long term, they look at perennials.
yes,
well,
I had no idea the planter boxes on the bridge were that expensive.
Well, they might get a deal because they buy them you know what I mean,
Yeah.
involved for all of them, but if you're just gonna do 2 planter boxes, yeah, you're gonna be a good price.
Well, and the thing, yeah, so like I would look at sustainable, like going into next year, if we're looking at some long term, to have something we can keep splitting off every year, that horticulturists can repurpose throughout the township, I'd say immerse at entryways and vice versa. That's all,
Look at you being all gardenery.
well, no, that's how we do, yeah, that's how we do our property, so.
My God, I'm thinking about my hanging baskets for the cost. Myself.
So no, I think we have direction, I guess, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so council is contributing, well, the township is contributing $500 to the efforts, and Jason and Kevin move 2 planter boxes and work with Jerry and the horticultural sites to place the boxes, and then they can plant them.
If there are 4 boxes though, and Sherry thinks that she can get more money or donation, like donated flowers, tell her she can have all 4 if that works for her.
If they're not needed, yeah, if
Yeah,
they're not needed,
okay.
for sure. I know,
Perfect.
yeah.
Look at us wrapping stuff up. Thanks for letting me add that to the agenda, by the way. That I did it last week, obviously, but I didn't want to wait until our September 7th meeting because that just left them basically no time, so.
So when are we gonna start working on this site plan?
Now,
Okay, yesterday?
yeah, exactly.
Mhm. Well, I think there's time, because they can't do anything with it. It's in a holding symbol. They can't do anything until that symbol is lifted.
Yeah.
And that has to be done at a council meeting. So, they're gonna want to get it done as quickly as they can.
Yeah, I don't
to have
know,
that
I
lifted.
don't know when they would want to start renovate the building. I don't know
The
if we wanna go back that way.
investors will be after them for a start date, so
Yeah.
they're gonna need the site plan to know if they can earn agreement with it or not, or send it to their legal
That's right,
department and then say, no, we're in agreement with this, but not in this.
that's right.
Well,
It's gonna be a back and forth compromise.
well, if we
right?
have to call another special meeting, it doesn't cost any more money to the residents, so I'm fine coming for
Yeah.
1,
No,
2.
But we have to, where are we gonna start? That's the thing. If we're gonna start with the county first, or
Yeah.
county's input first,
Definitely,
and then
Yeah.
we'll add to the counties. Once we get from the county,
Yeah.
then we can add to it. And then once we're complete with it, send it to our legal and have them look at it.
did you guys all see Bruce's email after the meeting? Okay, yeah, because I mean, he had a lot of
Mhm.
very important points in that
So
email,
we
so he was,
can start from there for a while. And then,
and he's certainly done it before, right? So I just think, like,
well, like to me, this is no different than the Green Energy Act. It's really not. You're gonna be able to put in some stuff and you can't. It's like with the solar panels we had on Augsburg Road, right? There was nothing we could do about it as the township. When they were going up, they got approved and that was it. The township couldn't change them, couldn't prevent it once they got approval for doing it. If you
a
remember.
rezoning is different than putting
Yeah, yeah, but,
solars up on a
but-
private piece of land.
Well, I know we're zoning, but still, we're not gonna be able to make it any more stringent than what the Health Canada has to some effect.
Well, and Health Canada has a large impact on the people's private property anyway,
Yeah.
so like, at the end of the day, it's just like, me at this table, I'm not looking to go over and beyond to kind of cripple individuals trying to do something with their life or trying to start a business. End of the day, we want to look at what's best for the residents, so yes, we do want to stick to the bounds of what we want, but like, are we gonna, in my opinion, I think that we just have to keep it stringent but simple. Like, I'm not looking at like 100 different peer reviews that's gonna cost and sue or any business that tries to develop in this town. At the end of the day, we just want to keep it simple, straightforward, and then I look forward to hearing staff direction or staff, what the direction the county comes up with or lawyers come up with, and us reviewing it at a special meeting or a council meeting, and I think that will be important.
But I think Bruce gave us a good starting point. Like, I think that email, number one, his advice during the town hall meeting was excellent. But then his follow-up email definitely gave me a sense of, okay, we're gonna be able to write in this and write in that. And so that, Tim was saying he felt a little better just knowing that a site plan could be done in Health Canada regulations.
But when I was coming out earlier, let's not make it that technical, but nobody really understands what the hell you're talking about.
No,
Right.
Got a whole bunch of legalese in there, really, what does this mean?
Well, I look at it like it's a it's a site plan. This council has just done one, but I put down like lots of them and a site plan, and the difference on this one, it's like, oh, what does Health Canada do for odor control? And that's the biggest concern we continuously have heard and stuff, like stormwater, everything, drainage, septic, everything like that. To me, that's standard within a site plan where everything ends up going. But the most important thing, yeah, odor, okay, what's the control, what's the numbers? And that's something that we're gonna look at within our confines of our site plan on what numbers our residents can contact. What's the policy when we do get complaints? Okay, what's the daily record? What's the annual inspectable? Just for stuff that we're aware that we can support our residents with. And I think that Bruce had stated multiple things within the email, and yeah, 100%, that's standard within a lot of site plans. And
But I also think one of the complaints that we heard was about the proximity to the playground, and Mark indicated that they would be willing to put up a tree line. Just if the playground may be moved at a later date, but for now, I think that that's something that we can do.
Yep.
And, it wouldn't be that expensive to block off the building from the playground, and might make the playground look a bit prettier as well, because as you just said, like the concrete and the weeds and the.
well, when you look at it and be like, there's no,
One of the things that came to my mind, this is, I think should be in there, that groundwater only be used for hygiene purposes. In other words, they have a well, they use it for drinking water and flushing the toilet, but they don't use it for watering the plants.
I think all of their water's gonna be shipped, like for everything.
I don't know, I would have thought they would have had a well there, that Blackwater would have a water supply somewhere.
well, they would need specific things probably for their actual like hydronic or growing thing anyways. That's what they went over multiple times.
That's the water they'll haul in for.
And it's a lot of water.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's a well there, I'd really have drinking water, flush a toilet and make coffee and that's it. Not used for watering plants, because that's what the residents are worried about, is depletion of the groundwater.
Well, and that's what was answered at the last
Yeah.
meeting and the one before that as well, is that they need specific water, need to know what the water is, so that's the water they're bringing in. Or they can't control the pH of their plants probably properly.
But
That's what I assume.
I don't think they would bother digging a new well or using two sources of water. I think they're bringing water into
Yeah.
the building, and that's the water that will be used for everything.
Well, you need something reliable, and the thing
I
is.
just thought it added a piece, some of the concerns up there about groundwater.
Yeah, well, and that is a concern.
But Jen, you did bring up a great point of that, yes, vegetation can be within it. It's in a lot of site plan agreements. You have your vegetation line there, you said they want a tree 100%. I think we can all come to agreement for that. And even us as a township, we may look at next year within our budget of putting in, like, maybe we'll send their loader down there, bulldoze and rip up all that old concrete and put down soil and grass. Like, that's the thing, like, if you have some form of development area, we've heard it over and over that there is families in the area that are moving in. Your senior residents, we 100%, okay, maybe we have to look at upgrading it, no different than we did Centennial Park, no different we've done throughout our township already, this council. So like, that's the thing that we can look at as well, that it's not gonna be in the site plan, but we can look at within our budget. We monitor our funds well, so if this is something that we're seeing that could potentially increase the development within the area or support our residents, and something that, hey, it may cost us a couple grand or $5,000 to support it, and Delcan's also talk about putting money in towards, and if they see a positive track that they can spend their, say, $3 to $5 million to renovate their building, well, maybe they'll allot 10 grand to support it. They know the township's gonna be putting in 5 grand towards the park, play structure, or just more of a soccer field for the kids there. Like that's the thing, is there is a lot of the old concrete that's there, the asphalt and stuff, and honestly,
And
it's
the
like most
weeds.
things that look better with the bulldozer.
The weeds are all coming out.
Yeah.
I think, we budgeted some amounts of money for Kevin to do a little rehab on the structures that were up there, and I think he did a great job, but holy cow, there are a lot of families up there. Like when they asked for those, for the children at play signs, I thought, when was the last time I was in Foymount? So I went to Foymount and I could not believe the amount of kids out with their parents running around using the playground. So, I think that preserving the playground is important, or in fact moving it, but I think that that's a budget item, absolutely.
And that question for you on that playground, there's that triangle piece. And then there's the sort of a rectangle piece. Who owns that property? Where kind of playground? Is that owned by us?
I don't know, I have to go look.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the plan that's pieced out here. It looks like there's there's a buffer property in between the playground and Delcat.
Yeah,
It's
so
owned
maybe,
by someone else.
And I think Mark, no, somebody said that during the town hall.
well, maybe that's something we can ask staff to bring forward.
Because when you
But
look-
I still-
when you look at,
But I still think
see,
that,
there's this property, there's the park this here.
Yeah.
And that's here, whoever owns this, these two are the buffer piece.
okay, but I think what they were saying, what the concern was that from there to there is not that far.
No, it's
And
not.
so
No,
if they
but-
put up a tree line,
Yeah, but if
Then-
this is somebody else's property, the tree line would have to go on their property.
for sure.
Yeah, and if we want to put a tree line,
So,
we only have minimum space here.
so why don't
depends who owns it.
we just wait for the answer to who owns the property at the September 7th meeting and then wait for staff recommendations for the site plan? And then we can review at that point, and if we gotta talk to another property owner, we can talk to another property owner. I think it's only gonna enhance the area, so.
But I think Dalcan was meaning that they would plant them on their property, right at their,
Yeah, right at the edge. of the
Properly.
line.
Yeah, because right now, my understanding, the township actually cuts part of the lower section of their property anyways, that is that part of that field or whatever, so. Because it gives the kids play on it, so.
yeah, I guess.
So that's saying, so vegetation, yeah, will be on their property, but it may allow more property for the kids to play on.
Okay, anything else? All right, guys. So I have a resolution dated this 31st day of August 2021, that bylaw 2021-051 being a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2006-28 of the Township of Bonnechere Valley, Delcan. Bylaw 2021-052 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be read a first time, be deemed read a second time, be deemed read a third time and passed. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Tim, seconded by Brent, all in favor. Thanks, council.
Good question. You're not quite done yet?
Nope.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it's, go ahead.
I have a resolution dated this 31st day of August 2021 that the council meeting be adjourned. That clock is wrong. Anybody got the time?
2:28.
2:28 PM. Thanks. Can I get a
27
mover?
and a half.
Can I get a mover and second? By Tim, seconded by Merv, all in favor.